Imagine standing at a crossroads, two paths ahead, both uncertain, both whispering different promises. You weigh the pros and cons, list the logic, gather the facts, and yet, somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice tells you what to do. You can't explain it. You just know. That invisible tug in your chest, that inner signal guiding your hand, it's intuition. For centuries, philosophers, scientists, and spiritual thinkers have debated this force that seems to arise from nowhere, yet shapes so much of what we do. From love to leadership, from life-changing risks to moral decisions, intuition is the silent partner of our reasoning mind. But what happens when that partner misleads us? When our instincts, shaped by bias or fear, cross the fragile line between right and wrong? Tonight, we're diving into the psychology and philosophy of that line, where intuition meets ethics, where gut feelings hold power, and where every choice echoes the silent question, can we trust what we feel to be right? The ancient Greeks believed that moral wisdom, what they called phronesis, was a balance between rational thought and inner knowing. Socrates warned that blind impulse could corrupt the soul, but Aristotle countered that moral virtue requires instinct honed through experience. He saw intuition as the culmination of knowledge absorbed so deeply that it becomes automatic. A virtuous person, he believed, doesn't debate what's right. They feel it instantly because their moral compass is trained through years of reflection and empathy. Fast forward to the modern world, and science has given that ancient intuition a new name, the fast system of thinking. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman calls it System 1, the quick, effortless, emotional side of decision-making. It's what tells you to swerve before you consciously see the car coming, what helps a nurse sense a patient's silent distress, or a firefighter feel danger in a burning building seconds before the collapse. Intuition saves lives, but the same system that protects us can also betray us. Because intuition doesn't just come from wisdom, it comes from wiring, and wiring is shaped by everything we've seen, felt, feared, and believed. A police officer's gut feeling about a suspect, a judge's instant sense of guilt, a CEO's instinct to trust one investor over another. These intuitive flashes feel like truth, but are often reflections of unconscious bias, cultural conditioning, and emotional residue. The ethical question then becomes, when your gut leads you astray, who bears the responsibility, you or your biology? Imagine a doctor making a split-second judgment in an emergency room. Their intuition tells them to prioritize one patient over another. Later, data reveals the opposite choice would have saved more lives. Was that a moral failure or a human one? The intersection between ethics and intuition isn't about right or wrong outcomes. It's about intent, about how much we recognize the invisible forces steering our minds. Philosopher Immanuel Kant believed moral worth comes only from decisions made through rational duty, not instinct. To him, following your feelings, even if they align with what's right, lacked true ethical merit because feelings are unreliable. He saw moral action as an act of reasoned will, free from impulse. But others, like David Hume, argued the exact opposite. That reason is the slave of passion, and morality itself is born from emotion. Our empathy, our capacity to feel another's suffering. And that's the dilemma at the heart of human ethics. Reason without feeling becomes cold, detached, even cruel. But feeling without reason becomes reckless, naive, and easily manipulated. Intuition lives in that fragile balance, both sacred and suspect. Modern neuroscience gives us a glimpse into its machinery. When we make quick moral judgments, say, whether pushing a man off a bridge to stop a train feels wrong, the emotional center of the brain, the amygdala, lights up before the rational prefrontal cortex even reacts. Our morality is first felt, then justified. We don't always think our way to ethics. Often, we feel our way there and backfill logic afterward. It's unsettling because it means that much of what we believe to be reasoned morality may actually be emotional storytelling in disguise. This doesn't mean intuition is false, it means it's powerful. And like all power, it demands awareness. To navigate the ethical implications of intuition, we have to ask, where does my gut come from? Is it rooted in empathy or fear? Compassion or prejudice? Love or ego? Let's take an example from history. In times of moral crisis, say during wars or humanitarian disasters, those who act intuitively to save others often become our heroes. They don't pause to calculate risk. They feel compelled to act. Their empathy becomes instinctive courage. But the same intuition, in a different person, can justify cruelty. Soldiers have slaughtered innocents because intuition told them it was right for their cause. The mob has burned books, exiled thinkers, punished truth-tellers, all in the name of moral certainty felt, not reasoned. So where is the line between moral intuition and moral delusion? Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned that the most dangerous people are not those who know they are evil, but those whose intuition convinces them they are righteous. When conviction outpaces reflection, intuition becomes dogma. We see this in politics, religion, even daily life. People making snap ethical judgments based on what feels right, not what truly is. In the age of social media, outrage often masquerades as morality. But outrage is not ethics. It's instinct without understanding. That's why philosophers like John Dewey emphasized reflective intuition. He believed our instincts can be ethical, but only when continually examined in the light of reason and experience. It's not about killing intuition. It's about educating it. A moral intuition isn't born perfect. It's trained through empathy, through exposure to perspectives beyond our own. It's cultivated by humility, the awareness that we could be wrong. In this sense, intuition is like a compass. It points towards something, perhaps truth, perhaps error. But without checking the map of reflection, we'll never know which direction we're truly facing. Ethical living, then, isn't about distrusting your gut or worshiping it. It's about holding both intuition and logic in dialogue. Imagine two people faced with the same moral dilemma. A stranger drowning in a river. One jumps in immediately, driven by instinct. The other pauses, calculating the risk, the odds of survival, the downstream current. Who is more ethical? The instinctive savior might risk both lives unnecessarily. The thinker might hesitate too long. Ethics isn't found in impulse or intellect alone. It's found in the harmony between them. Our world, driven by data, algorithms, and reason, often dismisses intuition as soft. Yet, some of our most profound moral choices, whom to trust, when to forgive, whether to show mercy, arise from that subtle inner knowing that logic can't quite quantify. At the same time, every atrocity justified by blind conviction warns us what happens when intuition operates without conscience. So how do we ethically use intuition in decision-making? Perhaps by adopting three disciplines: awareness, humility, and accountability. Awareness means knowing your own emotional landscape, understanding that what feels true might only feel familiar. Our intuition reflects our conditioning, what we've been told, what we've experienced, what we fear. Awareness lets us pause long enough to ask, is this intuition wise or wounded? Humility means remembering that intuition is personal, not universal. What feels morally right to you might feel cruel to another. Humility allows dialogue, inviting reason and empathy to refine your instincts. And accountability means taking responsibility for intuitive decisions, not hiding behind gut feelings as if they were fate. Every moral intuition, no matter how sincere, has consequences in the real world. Think of great leaders: Mandela, Gandhi, Mother Teresa. Each acted on intuition guided by deep reflection. Their moral clarity wasn't spontaneous. It was earned through suffering, self-awareness, and humility. Intuition, in their hands, became a moral art, an instrument tuned over time, not a reaction born of impulse. Now imagine the opposite. Leaders driven by unchecked intuition, certainty without question, emotion without balance. History shows us the cost: wars ignited, rights violated. Millions convinced their cruelty was moral because it felt right. That's the dark side of intuition, the seductive illusion of moral certainty. So perhaps the ethical use of intuition is not about silencing it, but integrating it. We can feel first, reflect next, and act last. Emotion gives the spark, reason gives the shape, and reflection gives the conscience. In modern neuroscience, this balance is even visible in the brain. The anterior cingulate cortex, responsible for moral awareness, acts as a bridge between emotional and rational regions. When balanced, it helps us weigh both feeling and fact. When imbalanced, we either become impulsive or detached. Moral growth, then, may be about strengthening that bridge, training the mind to let intuition and reason converse rather than compete. And what about the question that lingers? Is intuition moral by nature? Some evolutionary psychologists argue it evolved as a social glue, to help early humans cooperate, sense trustworthiness, and detect deceit. In that sense, moral intuition is a product of survival. But survival isn't always moral. Our instincts favor our tribe, our kin, our comfort. Ethics asks us to go beyond instinct, to extend empathy to the stranger, the outsider, even the enemy. That's where rational reflection elevates intuition into morality. In the end, the ethical implications of intuition aren't about choosing between head and heart. They're about recognizing that true wisdom lies in their union. When intuition is educated by empathy, refined by reason, and guided by conscience, it becomes one of humanity's greatest tools for good. But when it is left unchecked, ruled by ego or ignorance, it becomes one of our greatest dangers. So the next time your gut speaks, pause. Listen to it, yes, but then interrogate it. Ask it why it feels what it feels. Ask if that feeling belongs to truth, or to fear masquerading as truth. The ethical life begins not with certainty, but with curiosity. Because intuition may whisper, but it is reason that must translate its message into morality. And if you've ever wondered how much of your gut is really you, or how much is the echo of everything you've ever believed, perhaps that question alone is where ethics truly begins. If this journey into the ethics of intuition gave you something to reflect on, take a moment to share it, subscribe, and join others exploring how mind and morality intertwine. Sometimes the quietest voice within holds the loudest truth, but only if we have the courage to listen, question, and learn.